On the night of 3 October 1922, London was wet, bright, and restless. Theater crowds poured into Piccadilly, taxis hissed over rain-dark streets, and no one leaving the West End could have guessed that before midnight, one suburban marriage would end in violence, and one of Britain's most debated convictions would begin. The case would become known as the Bywaters-Thompson case. It was, at its center, the killing of Percy Thompson in Ilford, Essex, and the prosecution of his wife, Edith Thompson, and her young lover, Frederick Bywaters. It unfolded in a Britain still adjusting to the aftermath of the First World War. London in the early 1920s was a place of change. Women had more visibility in work and public life. Old rules about respectability still carried great force, and scandal could travel fast through newspapers hungry for sensation. Edith Thompson did not fit neatly into a narrow idea of what a respectable wife should be. She was intelligent, stylish, and professionally successful, working in the fashion trade and rising to become a chief buyer. Her husband, Percy Thompson, appeared to many as steady and conventional. The couple had married in 1916 and later settled at 41 Kensington Gardens in Ilford, a comfortable suburban home that suggested security from the outside. Frederick Bywaters was younger than Edith, handsome by many accounts, and employed as a merchant seaman. He had known Edith's family for years, and in time he became close enough to move through the Thompsons' social circle with ease. According to later accounts, the relationship between Edith and Frederick deepened in 1921. What began as attraction became an affair, and it developed against the backdrop of Percy's growing unease and the strict moral expectations of the period. For a time, Frederick even lodged with Edith and Percy. That arrangement did not last. After tensions rose and a quarrel broke out, Frederick was told to leave, but the emotional bond between him and Edith did not end. When Frederick went back to sea, Edith wrote to him again and again. Those letters would become the heart of the prosecution's case, not because they placed her at the scene of the killing, but because they revealed the intensity of her feelings and her desperate language about her marriage. On 3 October 1922, Edith and Percy spent the evening in London at the Criterion Theatre with relatives. After the performance, they made their way back through Piccadilly and took the late train home. They arrived in Ilford and began the short walk toward their house. The route took them along Belgrave Road, near De Vere Gardens and Ensley Gardens, a quiet suburban stretch that looked ordinary enough under the street lamps. Then, just before midnight, the calm ended. A man rushed at Percy Thompson in the dark. In the struggle that followed, Percy was stabbed. Witnesses later reported hearing a woman screaming, "Oh, don't! Oh, don't!" Edith was at the scene, distressed and in shock. Percy died from his injuries, and the attacker fled. Police moved quickly. Suspicion soon fell on Frederick Bywaters, and he was arrested. He admitted his role in the attack and later led police to the knife, but from the beginning, he insisted that Edith had not known he intended to confront Percy that night. That insistence would become one of the most important and most controversial features of the case, because if Frederick had acted alone, the legal case against Edith would be far weaker. Investigators then found what they believed tied the story together: a large bundle of letters from Edith to Frederick, written while he was away at sea. More than 60 letters survived, and together they ran to tens of thousands of words. The letters were passionate, dramatic, and often deeply unhappy in tone. Edith wrote about longing, frustration, and wanting freedom from her marriage. Some passages were especially damaging. In them, Edith referred to attempts to harm Percy, including poison and ground glass. No persuasive physical evidence showed that Percy had actually been harmed in that way, but the language was enough to shock police, prosecutors, and later, the public. Edith's defenders would later argue that the letters reflected fantasy, emotional exaggeration, and literary melodrama rather than a real agreement to commit murder. The prosecution argued the opposite, that the letters showed incitement and shared intent. That distinction became the entire case against her. Edith had not stabbed Percy. The Crown instead argued that her words helped bring about his death. The matter moved toward trial at the Old Bailey in London. By then, the case had already become a sensation, not only because of the killing itself, but because adultery, private letters, and a younger lover made it irresistible to the press. The trial opened in December 1922 before Mr. Justice Shearman, a male presiding judge. Frederick Bywaters was defended by Cecil Whiteley KC. Edith Thompson was defended by Sir Henry Curtis Bennett KC. The Crown case was led by Sir Thomas Inskip, assisted by Travers Humphreys. The courtroom setting mattered. A British criminal trial of that era was formal, hierarchical, and intimidating. The judge elevated above the court, barristers in wigs and black gowns, jurors listening in heavy silence, and every private action translated into public meaning. Frederick did not try to save himself by blaming Edith. Instead, he maintained that he alone attacked Percy and that Edith knew nothing of his plan. But the prosecution had the letters, and the letters changed everything. Passages were read out in court, and Edith's intimate thoughts were exposed before judge, jury, reporters, and a fascinated nation. In legal terms, the Crown argued that the letters proved a common purpose or incitement. In human terms, the trial often seemed to place Edith's character itself on trial. That point remains central to why her conviction is still disputed. Many later commentators have believed the jury may have been influenced not only by the legal question of murder, but by revulsion at her adultery, her sexuality, and her refusal to fit the expected image of a dutiful wife. Sir Henry Curtis Bennett argued for Edith, but the case was difficult. There was no direct evidence that she knew Frederick would lie in wait on Belgrave Road that night. The prosecution's strongest weapon was the meaning it asked the jury to draw from her words. On 11 December 1922, the jury found both Edith Thompson and Frederick Bywaters guilty of murder. Both were sentenced to death. The reaction in court was immediate and unforgettable. Edith broke down. Frederick protested her innocence, declaring that the verdict against her was wrong. Outside the court, opinion did not stand still. There was outrage, fascination, moral condemnation, and sympathy, often all at once. A major public campaign followed. Nearly 1 million people were said to have supported a petition seeking mercy, especially in Edith's case, where many believed the punishment went beyond the evidence. Yet the legal machinery kept moving. The Home Secretary, William Bridgeman, refused to grant a reprieve. On 9 January 1923, Edith Thompson was executed at Holloway Prison. Frederick Bywaters was executed the same day at Pentonville Prison. Officially, the case was closed. Legally, both had been convicted, sentenced, and executed for Percy Thompson's murder. Historically, however, the story did not settle. Bywaters' guilt in the stabbing was never the central mystery. Edith's was. Over the decades, writers, lawyers, and historians returned to the same question. Did Edith Thompson truly participate in a murder plot, or was she condemned because private, emotional letters were treated as criminal proof? That question has only grown sharper with time. Modern discussion often focuses on whether the trial was distorted by gender expectations, moral judgment, and the sensational use of the letters. So the Bywaters-Thompson case endures not simply as a solved murder, but as a controversial conviction. Percy Thompson was killed. Frederick Bywaters was convicted as the killer. Edith Thompson was convicted as a party to the murder, but the fairness of that conviction remains debated a century later. In the end, the case leaves two truths standing side by side. One man died on a dark suburban road in 1922, and one woman's words, more than any act proven in court, helped send her to the gallows, where the argument over her guilt never truly ended.